Hello. Thank you very much for tuning into this week's section of readings. These readings are valid for whenever you come to them, but for this installment, I'm going to use the Wild Reflections Tarot deck by Spell. If I can coordinate myself here, sorry about that. And I know there's a Spell website on the back here. I think it's over there. So if you want to check it out or find this deck, there's the information. You can freeze frame and check out what you want to check out if you're interested, naturally. Supportive Oracle Cards, Magical Spell Cards by Lucy Cavendish. Illustrated by Jesse Reish. And then there's a website at the bottom, heyhouse.com, somewhere down there. I usually find it if I look hard enough, but it's there somewhere, heyhouse.com if you're interested. Okay. And last but not least, I use dice. I use a 22-sided dice for the major arcana, substituting 22 for 0, the pool. 14-sided dice for the minor arcana, and a 4-sided dice to choose the element to decide which section of the minor arcana I'm going to use. These came from mathartfun.com, or the dice shop. The website is mathartfun.com if you're looking for that. That's where those ones came from. Okay, that being said, if you'd like a reading from me, shoot me an email, jamesforastral@gmail.com. It's James the number 4, astral@gmail.com. If you're interested in the donation information, that's below. Thank you very much for watching, and let's get into your reading. Hello, Virgo. Thank you very much for tuning in to this week's read. These readings are valid for whenever you come to them. That being said, what do we have for Virgo? So there's a card popping in. It's just ironic to me that I think it's going to go your way. And, okay, so the card is the Tower, which earth signs especially usually don't like that. Not usually fan of the Tower, because it's like a big upset, unexpected, unplanned. So why do we have every card in the deck? Every card? Like every card. Okay, so where did this come from? I feel like we have to get into like where it currently is and then look back and be like, oh, all right, that's where that came from. Because something is changing that I feel like, where did that come from? I feel like when it shows up, it's like, where did that come from? Like, what's up with that? It's not bad. It's just kind of like, this wasn't on the itinerary. This wasn't on the list. This wasn't on the menu. I didn't know that was an option. Like, it feels like that. Like, I didn't know that was an option. Nobody told me that was an option. Okay, so the Magician's showing up with the Ace of Fire, Ace of Wands. It's really, I feel like it's truly not bad, but it's kind of like, I don't like how it's showing up. It's like somebody you like just randomly showing up at your house, and you're not ready for them, and you're kind of like, oh wait, I do like them, but I didn't know, like, okay. It's kind of like, if you had told me ahead of time, I'd have been a lot happier with this. I guess if I gotta roll with it, then I gotta roll with it, but there's other things I had scheduled for today, so it's kind of like, okay, I like this person, I like the connection, but this is throwing off my plan. This is throwing off what I was gonna do, but I do need to see them, and it really is important that we kind of converse. So it's kind of like, all right, I can move these other things. I think I should, because they're here. I just wish I knew. I didn't know this was an option. I didn't know they would show up like this. It's kind of feeling like that. It's kind of like, I don't like it, but I do. It's kind of like, why did and I'm also questioning, like, why are we doing it this way? Why is that happening this way? Like, why are we doing it this way? You do like whoever it is, because I think it's a person. For the majority of you, it's a person. Could be situational. but you're like, I do like them. I do like this. I like. It's best I can. It's the best way I can think of. It's like somebody you like showing up unannounced. It's the easiest way I can think of to do it. It's also kind of like if you're gonna do it in a work sense, if you're gonna do it that way, I would say it's kind of like getting the possibility for a promotion, but it's kind of like you have to fly out to this place this weekend, and you're like, well, I want it, but I got responsibilities. Okay, how do I make this work? Um, it's kind of like, why did you do this to me last minute? It feels like that. Like, why did you do this to me last minute? But the thing is, you want it, whatever it is. So you're balancing it out. I feel like you're handling it quite well, quite well. Um, you're immediately going. You're balancing it out immediately. I feel like, yeah, it's just what you got to do. Trying to be okay with it, trying to roll with it, trying to run with it. Okay, you've got the Queen of Wands in on the dice, and you do have it in the past, which makes me wonder if it's kind of like the subject matter, or I almost feel like in the past maybe something similar like this happened, but you were on the other side where you kind of lost. It's kind of like, I couldn't do it in the past. I just couldn't make it happen. So something showed up randomly. I just couldn't do it, so I had to let it go, or I couldn't participate. Or maybe, for example, like, instead of you getting something good, somebody else got it just randomly. I don't know, something where I feel like I missed out on in the past, which is kind of like, well, at least something good is coming my way. It feels in the past like something similar either happened to you or to somebody else the same way, and it's kind of like it makes sense to you if you really look at it, like, all right, this is kind of how this works sometimes. It's kind of like I'd rather have the opportunity than not have the opportunity. When all is said and done, long run, when you're down the road a bit and you look back, you're like, well, at least I'd rather have the opportunity than not. So if it's kind of like I get it, but I get it in this weird way, or I don't get it at all, I'd rather have it. Are we good? All right. And I feel like it's not bad. You got to view it the way you view it. You know what I mean? I feel like outside, full picture, it's not bad. Feeling it, going through it, that it feels differently. I respect that it feels differently. You got what it takes to make this work. I don't think that's really in question. I don't know if you're even questioning it. I feel like it's more frustration than energy or talent. I feel like you have the energy and talent to make it happen, even if you're scraping the bottom of the barrel, which I hope you're not. But I do feel like you have what it takes to get through this. You have what it takes to make this work. It's more about the aggravation, I feel. And whoever's pulling you into this, however you're coming into it, there's a big reason. It's weird because you're very stable, you're very responsible, you're dependable, accountable, you will get it done. If you say you're going to do it, it happens. I feel like the people this is going to really link up with is like that's how people know you. Like you say you're going to do it and then you do it. And that's how it happens. And that's why you're here. Which is the reason I find it ironic is because you plan. That's one of the reasons it works. That's a part of it. I get that that's a part of it. Normal Virgo base energy is very good at planning, in my opinion. And the fact that somebody's not respecting those rules, but expecting you to jump into this and then do it your normal way, it's kind of like they're not honoring like the way you do things, but then expecting you to do things the way you do things. Does that make sense? I feel like it does. I don't know. It's kind of like that's interesting to me. It's kind of like they're gonna jump the system. They're gonna do it differently than you do it, and then expect when you get there for you to just do it the way you normally do it. I don't know. It's kind of like somebody who usually rides a bike, and then expecting them to run, and then saying, "Well, now that you're here, let's get back on the bike." I don't know. To me, that's a different thing. But okay, into the next. It's not that bad. I understand that, but for some reason, I do feel the frustration. So going into the next level, they're pulling more towards you, more opportunities. It's good, and I know I keep saying that, but the frustration is real. Even though it's good, it's still frustrating. So you don't have to be over accommodating. You don't have to be over accommodating. All right, take that with a grain of salt. Because I'm getting one of the reasons you're coming into this is because somebody else doesn't want to do something. These two together, somebody's trying to skirt out of work, somebody's trying to get out of doing something they don't want to do. Ironically, this reminds me of like people having different aptitudes. For example, like writing, not my strong suit. Math, pretty good at that. I have a friend who's like math, they really don't care for it. Writing, like nobody's business. Like nobody's business. I could never even come near. I could never come near. Um, so it's almost like whatever somebody else wants to get out of, you're probably naturally good at it. It's just something they don't link with. I feel like Virgo probably knows this. I feel like you probably realize this. Like people have different aptitudes. Just because one person doesn't like math doesn't mean you don't have. It doesn't mean you don't, or vice versa. It could be anything. It could be getting things filed, organizing things. It could be something like that. You're just really good at it, and you don't mind it. You actually like it. It makes you feel like, well, this is how that's supposed to go, and when this is where it's supposed to go, I feel more secure with the situation. It just might be your forte. Just because somebody else is trying to like get out of it, whatever that means, that doesn't have to be a negative for you. I think that's where I'm trying to get. It's actually a doorway for you to get into the situation, but I feel like at the same time, I'm like, I know why you want me here so that I can do what you should be doing, but it doesn't have to be a negative for you. You know what I mean? Even though you're aware of the balance, it doesn't have to be a negative because this is where your beginning comes in and you can really link in and actually get your foothold here and make things kind of look the way you want them to look. Because people who take the foundation and build the foundation, secure the foundation, and tend to the foundation, not only do they know how things are supposed to go, and if they're in control of that and keeping it where it's supposed to go, you can see how to make your next move to get where you want to go. And people who are just kind of flying all over the place might have more difficulty with that. You might be extremely advantageous to them if they stay on your good side. You might want to remind them of that if you see fit. If you see fit. So general read, take it with a grain of salt, you know? Literally, they want you because you're dependable. You're reliable. You're responsible. Blah, 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 blah. You know this. I feel like that's like 101, like Virgo 101, in my opinion, from what I know of Virgos. So somebody's trying to get out of something. This doesn't have to be a negative for you. It could be a positive. It could be a really strong positive because whatever they're trying to get away from, I do feel like it falls in your lap. The thing is, if you're more kind of like, yeah, I knew something. I knew there was something like this. And you're also doubly kind of like, and I'll do it well. And this is how you're going to get more of what you want. Taking it and then doing it the way you want. And then things are more in your control than people are expecting. We don't have, be careful about who knows that. You know what I mean? Let it go your way. Create it the way you want it. People don't need to know that. Be careful about who knows that. Because when people get a little uppity, like, you know, Virgo has too much, then they get in your way and then they try to micromanage you so they can have control instead of you having control. Be aware of it. It doesn't have to be a conflict. Be careful about who you talk with. It doesn't have to be a conflict. A lot of Virgos I know are very, I don't know if it's talented or just good at like not saying things they don't want to say or staying away from conversations where they don't want to tell people things. Seems to me the Virgos I know are pretty good at that. Yeah, don't empower other people who are going to get in your way. Be careful of that. You don't have to even get caught up in that game. You know what I mean? If you are aware of certain people or problems, you know what I mean? You don't have to kiss their butt. I'm not saying that. But at the same time, you don't have to participate. And if they don't seem to realize how effective you are, that's probably in your benefit. If they don't realize how much you are doing and how effective and how important and how much you're stabilizing the situation, if they don't even really realize it, if you just kind of stay out of their viewpoint, it could go in your way. It could go your way. Something that could really help this situation more to your benefit. Know where to make friends. Okay. Certain people are going to feel like they're stuck in this situation and they're not going to like it. And they're going to be a bit chatty. It's good to make friends there, but again, I keep thinking Virgo is good at this. Like, be careful what you say. Be careful how comfortable you get with certain people, especially if they're really chatty. You got the Knight of Swords here. Because like when I see the motorcycle, I feel like that's a good representation. It feels good to me because it's kind of like it can be a little bit reckless. It can be a little bit fun. It depends on who's driving. You gotta pay attention to how they're driving it, and like you know what I mean. How do they drive their motorcycle? Think of it that way. Like, are they kind of like abide by the rules, make sure everybody's safe? I want to enjoy my ride, and everybody else can enjoy theirs. It's all cool. Or are they kind of like, well, if I'm going 60 or 160, it's the same outcome if I hit a bump. So I'm like, oh, okay, okay. Just pay attention to who you're dealing with. This is another thing that can work to your advantage because if you make friends with the right people, and I feel like this is going to make sense because they're going to be complainers. Not that you want to get sucked down with that, but I feel like, every now and then, I feel like they're complainers. Okay, that's what I'm getting. I'm going with it. I feel like I keep getting, you'll know how to navigate that. You don't want to get too close, but you want to get close enough to hear what's going on. This will set you up. So it's almost like the newspaper, or that used to be the newspaper. Do people read the newspaper anymore? Or reading things online before things happen. It's kind of like, oh, this is happening. Somebody bought this. Somebody bought that. Like so and so bought this company. Okay, if they bought it, they're planning to do something with it. You'll get like heads up about things coming your way, things going on around the situation, other things that right now doesn't look like it's going to affect you, but you're like, well, at least I know that way. If the wind blows a little differently, I know what to keep an eye out for. That type of stuff. This situation, the longer you're in it, the better it could go for you. Whoever's trying to skirt out of this situation or get out of doing certain work, it's a bad move on their part because you're going to get a great advantage that they probably could have had. Again, just because they're getting out of something, it doesn't have to be a negative for you. I think it's going to be a positive. Because I feel like it's as time goes on, it's kind of like I'm very careful, I'm very calculated, I'm looking out for myself, but other people, I'm balancing it out the way I need to, and ultimately you could love this situation with the Two of Cups. It's one of those things also, and I feel like this is another Earth, definitely Virgo. The longer you know something, the more you get into it, the deeper you get into it, the more you use it, the more you really, really know what's going on. And like other people might not understand how this will work there and that will work there. To them, it's like, I don't know how you know that, Virgo. How do you know that will work? How do you know if I put this here that'll make sense? You could try to explain to them like, well, I've seen this and I've seen that and I know this and this is where it ends up. I feel like they're going to be like, I don't know, Virgo. I don't know how you know that stuff, but okay. It's because you've learned probably the hard way. I feel like earth signs do that. They learn the hard way a lot of times, but when they learn the hard way, they know what's going on. Am I wrong with that? Let me know in the comments if I'm wrong. Because I feel like Virgo, Capricorn, Taurus, I feel like, you try the correct method, and then if it doesn't work, this is why I say the hard way. If it doesn't work, you take a look at it like, well, why doesn't it work? And then you fix it, and you're like, well, I'm not going to go through that again, so I'm going to fix it the correct way. I thought that was the correct way. That's what they told me. I had nothing else to go on, so I did it, but they told me. And then I found out, no, because of all this other stuff, no. So I had to correct it. And when I corrected it, it's going to stay that way because I'm not going through that again. Does that make sense? So it's not like you're prone to errors. I don't want to say that. What I'm saying is, like, if somebody tells you something, you do it the way they tell you to, but then you're like, wait, that's wrong. That's wrong. And I found out why that's wrong, and I'm not going through that again. Does that make sense? I feel like I might have said it wrong the first time, so hopefully it makes sense. And like when you learn something, you know it. People are going to depend on you. People are going to see you as a great source of prosperity, literally prosperity, because they don't understand how you know what you know. They don't understand how come you know the ins and outs of it. Again, you're learning it. Somebody says do it this way, and you're like, well, I did it that way, and that was wrong, so I had to figure out the right way to do it. And now that I did that, boom, this is where it's going to stay. And now when other people come around, like, oh, I'm going to do it the old way, you're like, no, 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 do this way, and do this and this, and you'll be fine. And they're like, I don't understand why that worked, and you're kind of like, yeah, well, I do, so don't worry about it. Yeah, well, I do. I don't know if that's, I don't know. I feel like I would say that. I just feel the energy kind of like, it's fine. I know why. It's fine. Don't worry about it. Um, Anything else? That ended quite abruptly. This was a good one. I like where this went. I hope it comes across well. So I'm going to shut this down here. Thank you very much for watching. If you'd like a direct reading from me, shoot me an email, jamesforastral@gmail.com. That's James the number 4, astral@gmail.com. If you're interested in the donation information, that's below. Same email. Thanks again for watching. Have a great day.